Welcome to This Day in His Story, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know that one of the greatest inventors in history was born in a small Utah log cabin? Learn how Philo Farnsworth, at the age of 15 years old, transformed the world when he sketched the first all-electronic television in his high school chemistry class. Learn that Philo Farnsworth became known as the father of television and produced more than 300 patents that led to innovations in radar, night vision, infrared technology, milk sterilization, and nuclear fusion. Discover that Farnsworth told his son while watching TV, "There's nothing on it worthwhile, and I don't want it in your intellectual diet." But later, after watching the moon landing, told his wife, "This has made it all worthwhile." It is pretty much a virtual guarantee that right now you are within arm's reach of a screen.
Oh, definitely. Or you're looking at one right this second.
Exactly. I mean, we treat these glowing rectangles as just a basic fact of modern existence, like oxygen or gravity.
Like they're just everywhere.
But what if I told you that the man responsible for the fundamental technology behind that screen, the literal father of television, well, he ended up absolutely hating what his invention became?
It's honestly the ultimate technological paradox. I mean, we surround ourselves with these devices, we organize our entire living rooms around them, and yet the creator actually banned them from his own home.
Yeah, it's wild. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are going to look at his life, his sheer creative genius, and the wild irony of his legacy. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Because to truly understand how revolutionary television was, we really have to start by looking at his completely unlikely, just entirely analog beginnings.
Yeah, we have to go way back.
Right. Back to August 19th, 1906. This man, Philo Farnsworth, he was born in a log cabin in Beaver, Utah.
And this wasn't just some rustic weekend retreat either.
Yeah, not at all.
This cabin was actually built by his Latter-day Saint pioneer grandfather, who he was named after. So he is born into a world defined almost entirely by physical labor.
Just dirt and muscle.
Exactly. The natural environment. I mean, we were talking about a time before the electrical grid had even reached most rural areas.
Right.
Yet, even as a young boy in this incredibly analog setting, his mind was entirely focused on the future. Like he had this absolute obsession with popular science magazine.
He was just devouring it, right? Reading about a world that basically hadn't arrived yet.
Yeah, but he wasn't just reading about it. As a youth, he actually adapted his family's manual home appliances to run on electric power.
Wait, like washing machines and stuff?
Yeah, these heavy, labor-intensive tools. He looks at the raw physical exertion required to run a farm, and he sees the invisible potential electricity to animate those tools instead.
That's incredible. And didn't he win a contest, too?
He did, yeah. While he was in high school, he won a national contest for inventing a tamper-proof lock.
So his mind was already, organizing the physical world into systems.
Completely.
Yeah.
He was intensely interested in studying molecular theory, motors, devices like the Bell telephone.
And the Edison phonograph, right?
Right. And he wasn't just using these tools. He was deconstructing the fundamental physics of how they worked, how communication happens across distances.
How sound is captured and translated, which really sets the stage for one of the most astonishing moments in the history of science, I think.
Oh, absolutely.
So he's 15 years old. It's 1921. He's just sitting in a high school chemistry class, and he conceives the idea for the world's first all-electronic television.
Just draws it right there.
Literally draws the plans in class for what he called an image dissector. Basically a video camera tube.
We really need to pause and unpack the mechanics of what he was doing here because it highlights just a massive conceptual leap.
Yeah, explain that, because there were other people trying to make TVs, right?
Right. At that time, other inventors were trying to create television, but they were using mechanical systems. They used these spinning metal discs with holes punched in them.
Oh, the Nipkow discs.
Exactly, Nipkow discs. They used them to physically scan an image line by line. But it was incredibly slow, clumsy, and the image quality was just terrible.
Because a physical disc can only spin so fast before it flies apart. You are bound by the limits of physical friction.
Exactly. But Farnsworth realized you could drop the mechanical parts entirely, because electrons have virtually no mass.
Ah, okay.
So instead of a spinning metal disc, he envisioned a vacuum tube where light entering the lens would hit a light-sensitive coating.
And that coating emits electrons based on the brightness.
Right. Then he could use magnetic fields to steer that beam of electrons, scanning the image instantly, infinitely faster than a mechanical wheel ever could.
So it's like a high-speed electronic typewriter. But instead of stamping letters with ink, it's rapidly stamping invisible electrons to recreate a moving image.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, think about a 15-year-old kid today sitting in chemistry class, ignoring a lecture on the periodic table, and casually drawing a blueprint for a time machine on a napkin.
It's basically the same level of paradigm breaking.
And the craziest part is his teachers and fellow students literally could not understand his concepts.
Which really highlights the intense isolation of true genius, you know? What's fascinating here is that Farnsworth possessed a mind that saw the future so clearly.
The blueprints were right there.
Right in front of them. But he was surrounded by people who lacked the vocabulary or the conceptual framework to even comprehend what they were looking at.
He was speaking a language of physics that hadn't been invented yet.
Basically, yeah.
But having a brilliant idea in a high school classroom is one thing. Actually building it requires a completely different set of skills. And, well, a lot of capital.
Yeah, and his path from that classroom to a working prototype was immediately met with hardship.
Right. He studied at Brigham Young University, BYU, but his father died tragically.
Yeah, which forced him to drop out of school just to support his family.
The safety net was completely gone. But he still had the vision.
He did. So in 1926, he marries Elma Gardner, who went by Pem, and they eventually have 4 children.
And despite the lack of a formal degree or like any deep financial backing, he manages to pitch his idea to local investors.
Yeah, he raises enough money to move out to San Francisco, sets up a lab, and in 1938, he finally unveils the first all-electronic television prototype.
Based on that exact image dissector he designed back in high school.
He basically took the theoretical, invisible world of electrons and forced it into a physical prototype that the world could finally look at.
It's amazing. And television wasn't even his only breakthrough. Like, there is this incredible list of his other inventions that just leaves you shaking your head.
Oh, wait, he invented that too?
Yeah. Yes. He developed a way to sterilize milk using radio waves. He invented the basics of radar, a black light for night vision, an infrared telescope.
It's a staggering output.
But, okay, I have to push back a little on this narrative. Like, we love the lone inventor trope in history, but how does a guy without a college degree manage to invent night vision, radar basics, television, and milk sterilization?
I know, it sounds crazy.
Just by moving to California and tinkering in a lab, I'm honestly stuck on the jump from TV to milk sterilization. Like, how do radio waves even connect to bacteria?
Well, it sounds completely disjointed until you look at how Farnsworth actually approached the physical world.
What do you mean?
He didn't compartmentalize science the way traditional academia often does.
Yeah.
He wasn't, television guy or an agriculture guy.
Right.
He was an expert in the electromagnetic spectrum. He deeply understood the fundamental behavior of radio waves, frequencies, and electrons.
So to him, it's all the exact same toolkit.
Precisely. Once you deeply understand how an electromagnetic wave interacts with matter, you can apply that fundamental truth to anything.
Okay, so applying it to TV makes sense.
Right, transmitting an image across a room.
Yeah.
Or you can broadcast a wave and measure how it bounces off a distant object to detect its presence.
Which is the foundation of radar.
Exactly.
Okay, but what about the milk?
It's the same principle, just applied to a different material. He realized that if you blast milk with very specific high-frequency radio waves, you aren't heating the milk from the outside in, like on a stove.
Oh, I see where this is going.
You are actually causing the water molecules inside the milk to rapidly agitate. And that internal friction generates sudden heat, which destroys the bacteria instantly without cooking the milk itself.
That is basically a microwave oven.
Exactly. It's the precursor to how a microwave works. He was applying a single, profound understanding of physics to vastly different industries.
That is fascinating. So he isn't inventing 50 different things. He's applying one master key to 50 different doors.
That's a perfect analogy.
But here's where it gets really interesting and honestly incredibly frustrating. If Farnsworth understood the universe that deeply, why isn't he a household name? Like, why isn't he Thomas Edison?
Well, because the narrative pivots here from the joy of pure scientific discovery to the crushing, brutal reality of corporate commercialization.
The business side of things.
Right. Life as an inventor was not easy for him. Despite his groundbreaking patents, he had tremendous trouble competing commercially.
Because he ran into a corporate behemoth.
A Goliath. We are talking about RCA, the Radio Corporation of America.
They held a virtual monopoly on radio technology back then,
They
right?
did. And they see what Farnsworth has done. They recognize its immense value, and they make an initial offer to purchase the rights to his device.
But Farnsworth says no.
He rejected it, yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to maintain control over his creation and manufacture the sets himself. He believed inventors should reap the rewards of their intellect.
Which is fair, but RCA did not take kindly to being told no.
Not at all.
During the 1920s and 30s, RCA unleashed its massive legal department. They retaliated by filing a series of complex lawsuits against him.
Frivolous lawsuits, really.
Yeah, they outright claimed that his patents were invalid and that their own Russian-American inventor, Vladimir Zworykin, had actually invented the electronic television first.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a stark reminder that knowledge and invention might be pure, but commercial survival is a battlefield.
A total war of attrition.
Exactly. RCA's strategy is a classic example of how massive corporations leverage their resources to just overwrite history.
Bury the little guy in paperwork.
Right. They didn't just want to compete with him. They wanted to legally erase his foundational claim by burying him in legal fees and court dates until he simply surrendered.
But he didn't surrender. And the way he fought back is incredible.
Oh, this is my favorite part.
Right. Because to prove he invented it first, he couldn't just point to his prototype in San Francisco. He had to prove when the idea actually originated in his head.
Yeah, the timeline was everything.
So his legal team actually tracked down his old high school chemistry teacher from back in Utah. And incredibly, that teacher had kept the original piece of paper from 1921.
Just a faded piece of paper.
The actual sketch Farnsworth made when he was 15.
And that faded sketch became the smoking gun in the patent interference case. It proved undeniably that a teenage boy in a rural high school had beaten the entire engineering department of the most powerful communications corporation on Earth.
By several years.
By years. Farnsworth ultimately won the patent battle, and RCA was forced to do something they had never done before: pay royalties to an outside inventor.
Which is an incredible legal victory, but it was a Pyrrhic one, really.
Yeah, it took a huge toll.
The psychological weight of these disputes, it was massive. You can invent the future, you can pull ideas out of thin air, but you still have to fight the lawyers.
The constant stress, the depositions, the financial drain, it completely exhausted his creative energy.
It's devastating for a mind that just wants to explore. So, looking for stability, he ends up moving across the country with his family. He accepts a position at Philco in Philadelphia.
But a corporate environment couldn't contain him forever.
No, eventually he leaves Philco to pursue his independent research again, diving back into radar, the infrared telescope, and exploring an entirely new frontier nuclear fusion.
Which really represents his constant search for the next horizon. Escaping the brutal corporate TV wars, Farnsworth looks away from broadcasting and looks toward the ultimate source of energy.
Recreating the power of the stars on Earth.
Exactly.
So in 1967, he moves back to Utah to run a fusion lab at BYU. And his research actually led to real advances. He created a device that served as the basis for a practical fusion reactor.
But once again, the realities of funding dictate the pace of innovation.
Because nuclear fusion is vastly more expensive than vacuum tubes.
Slightly more expensive, yeah. His company faltered without adequate funding, and he was forced to stop his research before he could fully realize his vision.
He ended up dying of pneumonia on March 11th, 1971, in Salt Lake City. But by the time of his death, he held over 300 U.S. and foreign patents.
A staggering legacy.
He was inducted into the San Francisco Hall of Fame, the TV Academy Hall of Fame, and today there's even a statue of him at the Letterman Digital Arts Center in SF.
So the accolades eventually arrived. But, the most revealing parts of his legacy are his own words about the machine that defined his entire life.
Right, which brings us to the ultimate paradox of Philo Farnsworth. So what does this all mean? He wrestled so deeply with the monster he unleashed.
He really did.
There are 3 specific quotes from his life that paint this picture of a man entirely conflicted. First, a quote to his son, Kent. Farnsworth actually caught him watching TV and said, and this is a quote, "There's nothing on it worthwhile, and we're not going to watch it in this household, and I don't want it in your intellectual diet."
A total ban. The inventor of the television, the man who spent decades fighting RCA to prove it was his creation, refused to let his own child consume it.
But then contrast that with what he said to his wife, Pem, while they were watching Neil Armstrong take the first step on the moon in 1969.
Which was televised globally.
Exactly. Farnsworth watched that broadcast and said, This has made it all worthwhile.
Because in that singular moment, the screen wasn't a mindless distraction, It was a unifying window for the entire human race. It was fulfilling its ultimate potential.
And finally, his broader spiritual view. He said, television is a gift of God, and God will hold those who utilize his divine instrument accountable to him.
Which aligns perfectly with that quote from 1974 by President Spencer W. Kimball.
Right, about how God provided mighty radio and television towers to spread the word to all the world.
It forces us to examine the critical difference between a technology's intent and its actual application in society.
So how are we supposed to reconcile this? How do we make sense of a man who gives us modern screens, views them as a literal divine instrument capable of broadcasting the moon landing, yet explicitly bans his own son from looking at them?
I think it unpacks the profound burden of the creator. Farnsworth saw the transcendent potential of his invention. He understood it could connect humanity to its greatest achievements.
A tool for profound truths.
Right, education across the globe. But he absolutely despised the mindless, everyday commercial reality of what it was becoming.
Flooded with advertising.
Advertising and content entirely devoid of value. He drew a sharp line between the miraculous technology he created manipulating electrons in a vacuum tube and the mundane media that corporations chose to pump through it.
He wanted it to elevate the mind, not sedate it.
Exactly. He knew the difference between a tool and a toy. And he realized that when you give the world a powerful tool, you completely lose control over how they choose to play with it.
The real challenge wasn't engineering the tech. It was whether humanity was wise enough to use it properly.
Precisely.
It is such an incredible legacy to reflect on, which brings us back to you, listening to this right now. What would your life be like without television and other viewing screens?
It's hard to even imagine.
Without the ability to instantly see events unfolding across the globe. Or, honestly, without your favorite thing to watch to decompress after a long day.
Right.
The next time you look at a screen, and let's be real, that will probably be within the next 5 minutes. Remember the 15-year-old boy in a log cabin whose high school chemistry doodle made that glowing rectangle possible. We owe an immense debt of gratitude to Philo T. Farnsworth.
We really do. And as you look at that screen, I'd leave you with a final thought to mull over. Given Farnsworth's incredibly strict warning to his son about keeping television out of his intellectual diet, what would the father of television think about the fact that we no longer just have a TV sitting across the room, but we now carry his invention in our pockets, staring into it every single hour of the day?
A broken bone is easy to diagnose, but the impact of an infinite stream of media on our minds, well, Farnsworth knew from the very beginning that we were stepping into deeply muddy waters. Keep questioning the everyday things around you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Thank you for joining us for this day in his story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in his story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.